Hey Trails Collective, Ian here for the weekly rundown of trail running in the Northeast for the week ending May 21st, 2021. Hopefully this finds you all doing well. Some hot days with the weather breaking. Been out on a couple runs where definitely should have been carrying more water. Still adjusting. Today was spent full day doing some trail work on the Finger Lakes Trail ahead of the Cayuga Trails races next weekend. There's a section that's perpetually neglected and still quite muddy after pretty wet spring, and the trail's just getting eroded further and further. It used to be single track maybe 20 years ago and has now really been opened up with people trying to avoid the mud. So finally got in there years ago. I put in with the help of a buddy, Scott Jacobs, and Rusty Russell, put in some planks which have helped, and it's really cool to see the forest floor growing up around them. It's worked. And so today, took a few Subaru carfuls, about $1,000 in treated lumber, which is, for all of you in the know, lumber is pretty crazy in the time of COVID and just supply demand at the moment. But put in roughly, I think, 10 sections and maybe a little bit over 100 linear feet of boardwalk over those muddy stretches. So it was a pretty good and full day on the trails. And then plugged in the afternoon, helping to coach youth cross-country and track program. And well, I'm not exactly youth anymore, so just doing some of the kids drills. I think my group was maybe 7 and 8 year olds doing some of their back and forth relays. Tore or fired up some connective tissue in my ankle, just doing the quick turnarounds and sprinting, which this middle-aged body just doesn't do anymore. So we'll see how that goes tomorrow. All right, so let's get into it. This week in the media, I didn't get a chance. I've just been too busy this week really digging into some of the media. Did come across my feed a nice digital interview with Eleni Peterson from the site lessonsinbadassery.com. We'll plug the link. It's a nice short digital interview with a pretty outstanding individual for you to check out. And then this past week, I also was working on and put together a video release on the Promised Land 50K, which I ran just a couple weekends ago. It's an event that runs each April in Bedford, Virginia. It's a beautiful runnable course with an honest elevation profile and a great community. And for better or worse, it's a Dr. David Horton production. So check that out on YouTube, and I will plug the link. All right, registration is opening. These I checked last night, so some of them may be closed out by now. Some are really close. The Run Ragged Last Person Standing in Berlin, Connecticut, running May 29th. At the time I was filming it, or now, just had one spot remaining, so I'm not sure whether that's still left. The Catamount Ultra is 25K in Stowe, Vermont, slated for the June 26th. This 99% full, with the 50K option being 90% full. A nice course up there in Vermont, one to check out. Eastern Divide 50K, slated for June 19th in Pembroke, Virginia, is up 1% this week and being 97% full, and there's only 11 spots still remaining when I checked last night. The Midstate Massive Ultra Trail 30 miler in New Ipswich, New Hampshire, scheduled for October 10th. There's only one spot remaining at the time of I checked it out, which means I guess most likely it's probably capped by maybe the time you're watching this. The Nipmuc South Trail Race, scheduled for June 13th in Mansfield, Connecticut, has 12 spots remaining. And the Slate Run 25K running June 5th in Slate Run, PA, is up 3% this week to being 93% full. All right, handful of FKTs on the week. Connecticut getting back to being on the top state in the reported FKTs. Ben Quattromoni, 2 hours, 24 minutes for the one-way on the 17-mile Notchog Trail. Pretty speedy for this technical Connecticut trail. And then returning to pick off the out and back mark as well for 5 hours, 5 minutes on the 17-mile section. This was one that had considerable action in 2020 from Scott Livingston, Dan Bates a couple times, Ben Nephew, and Justin Kowski. So some pretty solid runs and performances on this. So for Ben to shave off 2 minutes off the one way and 15 minutes off the return, that's pretty solid. So nice work, Ben. Mitch Morris, 1 hour, 59 minutes for the 12.7 mile Bear Mountain Lollipop Loop in northwestern corner of Connecticut. Debbie Livingston, 1 hour, 11 minutes for the Sleeping Giant State Park out and back, shaving 2 minutes off Sarah Connor's time from September. Celeste Fong, 4 hours, 13 minutes for the opening unsupported women's mark on the 16-mile ankle-busting, so it sounds, Quinnebog Trail. In New York, Jack Kunzel, 4 hours, 13 minutes for the Devil's Path. Probably one of the toughest trail sections in the East. It's a 22-mile stretch with 8,300 feet of elevation gain in the Catskills. Some pretty technical running. Much of the action has been the unsupported one way on this trail. Jack's mark, an opening mark for supported, is 22 minutes below Joshua Reed's unsupported mark from 2020. So although supported, still flying, supported or not. Caitlin Rhodes and Bethany Gerritsen, 10 hours, 7 minutes for the Classic and Burley Saranac Ultra Sixer Challenge. 29 miles with 10,000 feet of gain, lowering the prior self-supported women's mark by 61 minutes. In PA, Jeffrey Incho, 11 hours, 39 minutes for a new self-supported mark on the 46.5-mile Rachel Carson Trail. Matthew Struski, 9 hours, 1 minute for the 26-mile self-supported section and an opening mark of the North Country Trail section, which is Moraine and McConnell's Mill State Parks. So that was the FKTs of the week. All right, so we have a number of results from races that ran this past weekend. And as you know, or for those that don't know yet, I think it's been really fun to hear actual voices as opposed to just listing you names and finish results. Gives you a bit of the flavor maybe for the event. And I think just makes it more personal and gets to hear people's stories. So we've got a number of voices in this week, and thank you to all who contributed. So the Chief Wetona Trail Challenge, one that sounds like a really wonderful event down in PA. I will plug the link to the results that you can check out. But we have a couple clips in for those to run us through the event. We'll start with a clip from Deb Dzurinko. And in this, also props to awards from Russell Maple and a shout out to Adam and his family. All right, take it, Deb. Oh, and hopefully this comes through. I was getting some spotty audio, which was skipping around, but hopefully this comes through in the produced final. If it does skip around, my apologies for the whatever's going on with the audio. All right, take it, Deb.
Hey everybody, I am Deb Dzurinko, and I'm here to tell you about the Chief Wetona Trail Challenge that took place this past weekend on Sunday. There's a 7-mile and a 14-mile event. I ran in the 14-mile race. The race takes place at Mount Pisgah State and County Parks in Troy, PA, and it's put on by John and Amy Johnson. And let me just tell you, they are amazing race directors, and the love that they have for this state park and the county park, as well as the running community and just the community at large, is clearly evident in the quality of event that they put on. They just spend countless hours out on these trails, maintaining them and getting them ready for the race. And John puts a lot of time and effort into route planning and how he can best torture people. And it just makes for a fantastic day. The weather was really good. It was a little overcast. We had a little bit of sprinkles, but nothing too crazy. It was not too warm, not too cold, so it just really made for a pleasant day out on the trails. The race itself, the 14-miler, has about 2,800 feet of climbing, and a lot of that is in the front half of the race. So while the back half of the race is a little bit more flat, that's also where a lot of the mud is. So there's that to contend with, which is fun in and of its own. But there wasn't really as much wet mud as there could have been, considering how waterlogged it gets out there sometimes. We really had a dry week the week preceding, so the trail conditions were about as good as I've seen out here. These are my local trails, so I run out here a lot, I train out here a lot, and I just love these parks, and it was super fun to participate in an event that took place on those trails that I love. So I can't say enough good stuff about the course. It's really great how there's such a fun mix of double track and, you know, more technical, rocky, rooty, single track. And there's some great climbs. There's some nice flatter sections that you can really race hard. It's just a great place to be, and the event is just put on so well. So I ended up finishing first place female, which was really unexpected for me, and it made for an extra special day. And so as an award for that, I was given maple syrup, maple butter, and maple candies from Russell Maple Farms, and that was about the best race swag or award I have ever gotten. It was really awesome. So I just really highly recommend this event to anybody that wants to do a shorter distance in the springtime. It's just a great time of year to be out here. I typically run longer distance races, so I was a little bit nervous about that. I've been running ultra races since 2013. I just moved here a couple of years ago, not even 2 years ago. So most of my trail racing has been in North Georgia. So this past year was tough, obviously, with COVID, but I was able to do the Pine Creek Challenge 100K. I did Heiner 50K in April, and then I did Chief Wetona, and then I plan on doing Call of the Wilds in the fall. So this was just a really fun event to mix in there with the ultra distances, and I definitely recommend it to anybody that wants a really fun springtime race. Thanks a lot.
All right, nice work, Deb. And Eric Kosek and Lauren Kosek. Eric with the top male, as well as the one of the studess Kosek girls in Lauren, who raced as well. Eric and Lauren, take it.
Good Tuesday evening, Trails Collective community. Eric Kosek here, coming at you with my daughter Lauren to give you a rundown of a race we did this past weekend over in Bradford County, PA. The Chief Wetona Challenge. This awesome cup was a freebie at the beginning of the race that they give you for signing up. So the Chief Wetona Challenge is you have two options, a 7-mile option or a 14-mile option. The race is located in Mount Pisgah State Park, and it also uses some trails in a county park that's kind of connected to the state park. My daughter did the 7-miler this year. This was her second time doing the 7-miler. It basically is a trail system around Mount Pisgah Lake, and you go around twice utilizing different trails around the lake. Do you have anything you want to say about the trails or anything, or what were the conditions like?
It was somewhat muddy, but it wasn't horrible. Like, you could still run through it and stuff.
Yeah, John Johnson and Amy Johnson, they're the race directors. They like to find mud if they can. Seems like they're real good at it. It's almost a gift of his and hers. But you'll find mud puddles here and there, and it's nothing too serious. But you can kind of just have fun, get yourself dirty a little bit. Nothing that ruins your day. But the 7-miler is a good option if you're just looking to get some nice, pretty scenic trails. Nothing too. Not too much vert in it. I don't know what your total gain was, but it's pretty flat around the lake. Now the 14-miler is kind of John Johnson's mastermind, brainchild, whatever you want to call it. It's pretty ugly, especially on the first half. It's you're going basically all uphill, give or take a couple small flats for the first 7 miles before you get to a statue of Chief Wetona at the top of the county park. It's all single track, a lot of canted trails, but they do a good job of cleaning trails off so you can see where your foot's landing and you're not going to hurt yourself. But anyway, the first half is, I'm going to say, close to 2,000 feet of gain, and then from there, from 8 miles to 14, you're coming back down the mountain basically, and around the lake that the 7-milers go around. So that's a lot more downhill, but there's still some uphill stuff in it. Total gain for me was like 2,600 feet for the 14-miler, which I think is about what everybody got. It's an amazing race. This was the last year for the 14-miler. John just decided, he wants to spend more time with his family and more time on the trails, just running and playing rather than getting it ready. He just didn't have enough help to get the 14-miler ready every year, and he's very particular in making sure the trail and the course is ready on race day. No logs crossing the trail, and a lot of parts are leaf blown off and weed eated and stuff like that. So we all know it's a lot of work. So big kudos to him for pulling it off for so many years. It is a great race, and the community, after party and who shows up, it's kind of like a big family reunion, just like all the good races out there. My favorite part was finishing the race and being able to sit at the finish line and just chat with people and cheer people on coming in. So anyway, the results: the 7-miler, Colin Wright brought home the win, followed by Brock Wan. Sorry if I butchered your last name. He was like 30 seconds behind Colin, so that was a close fight. And then Katie Sick finished it off for third place, and she was also first female. Second female was Hannah Sherwood, and third female was Kristen Wogan. Sorry again. I guess that might be brother and sister Brock and Kristen. Sorry if I butchered your name. And the 14-miler, I managed to pull off the win for the 14-miler, which was kind of neat, being the last one. But it wasn't easy. I ran my own race and got lucky. Mike DeLorso came in second, and Edward Stroll third. And on the women's side of the 14-miler, Deb Dzurinko came in first. My wife, Becky Kosek, got second, and Lisa Butler pulled off third. So that's about all we got. I mean, again, huge thanks to John and Amy Johnson. They're kind of legends in the trail running scene. I met them when I first got into running. I ran my first 5K over there, and John Johnson whooped my butt beyond belief. And that was the first day I met him. And from that point, 4 or 5 years ago, we've become pretty close friends. And I consider him, family now. So it's pretty cool to be close with our family in the trail community like that. That's all we got. You got anything else?
Nope.
Peace.
All right. Nice work to both of you. At some point, I got to get my girls together with the Kosek girls and actually the whole family and go for a run, hang out. Post-COVID, we're going to make that happen. All right. Up in Vermont, Bloodroot Ultra. I just think it's an interesting history in the connection or separation between Bloodroot and Infinitus, which is coming up, I think, in a week or two. Bloodroot 10 mile, 50K, 50 mile, 100 mile, 200 mile, and 500 mile options. So it's definitely a exercise in endurance, and I'm still really unsure what to make of Bloodroot. The info and communications are cryptic, as are reports on the course and the organization, and I'm still not sure whether to chalk it up to an intentional and wanton, basically culture of just things being tough or made or contrived tough, or whether it's more just dereliction of organizational duties, or the former guising for the latter. I really don't know. But maybe at some point I'll have to experience for myself to find out. In any case, 100 mile had 11 entrants and with 2 finishers, or maybe they were the only starters. I can't quite tell. Or distances switched based on completion. Again, can't tell. Matthew Garino taking the win in 23:44. 50 mile of 38 entrants, 13 appeared to have finished the 50, with Nigel Bates taking the win in 10:18 for the men, and Katie Markesich for the women in 13:45. In the 50K of 38 entrants, the always speedy Joshua Ferenc took the win in 5:13, with Melissa Milne for the women in 7:23. And for the 10 mile, Elizabeth McGurk for the overall win in 1:38. Always awesome to see a woman on top for the overall, with Alex Hackworth, top men's finisher, in 1:43. And I was able to check in. Actually, I connected with a couple people on the event, but got a clip in here from Joshua Ferenc. So the always speedy Josh, take it.
Yo, what's up? Josh Ferenc, Athens, Vermont, coming at you. Trails Collective Rundown. I'm here to talk to you today about the Bloodroot 50K, which was the 50-mile course. The first 50K of my course was the first 50K of the 50-mile course, and then they did 2 laps around the farm. Beautiful Pittsfield, Vermont. We tucked into Chittenden, I believe, in Stockbridge. I don't know where the hell I was. I had a great time. It was awesome. Tough course. 3 different climbs, 3 separate climbs that were 35 to 37 minutes, not like just pure up. I remember looking down at my watch at one point and saw 43% grade. Didn't believe it, but it made me chuckle. We were sent reverse on the course. To do the course in reverse is a big loop and then like a little spur. We were sent out to do the big loop first and the spur last. This was because there are a couple locals messed with some trail signage. If I find you, I'll pound you. So I'm skinny like I'll still start some shit. And so we did the course in reverse because they had to fix it for the 50 milers. And 3 huge, decent climbs. The downhills were all mud. Uphills were fine and dry. It was kind of ironic. Downhills all face north, uphills were all facing south. Pretty awesome. Ran by myself from the for the 4th minute in. I ran totally by myself the whole time. It was a really neat race, really cool, really awesome environment. Wore the race t-shirt. Race t-shirt's cool. I'll never wear a band t-shirt to the band I'm going to watch, but I will wear the race t-shirt the day after if it's legit. It matches my flow. And other than that, it was a really cool event, really cool course. The trail mix-up did make it a little bit of a bummer, but that wasn't on the race directors. That was on just a couple locals moving some trail signs that they thought were somewhere in their way. Overall, yeah, it was hard. I know the metric piece is like obviously flat course, you run fast, hard course. It was tough because the hills were the climbs were really long. And the downhills were super muddy and soupy, and then it was just nonstop up, down, up, down. When I could run fast on the flatter parts, it was really cool, really fun. Don't let these gaunt eyes fool you. I'm fit. We've had a long time off, so it was just exciting to pin a number on anywhere. I'll pin it anywhere. Wherever I could pin a number, I'll pin a number. So that was really cool to do that, especially in my home state of Vermont, my backyard. I loved it. Coming up for me, I got a pretty stacked race calendar myself. I did a Green River Marathon course as like a preview thing 2 weeks ago. I got Bloodroot this week. I'm going to do, I think, a marathon May 29th, the Amphibious. I know 2019 was really cool. I got my ass kicked for like the first time ever. That was a lot of fun. I'm headed up to Canada for a stage race on Gas Bay. That's really neat. I'm really super looking forward to that. And then I'm heading back there again for another race up in the Quebec region. They got some really cool, gnarly races. They're really remote and really cool. I got to check again about Whiteface. I want to hear back about that at some point, if that's cool. But then I got Trans Rockies again. Got to protect this house. No, I got to go defend. I got to. Why not? It was a really cool experience. And if you got a bucket list race that you're able to do, I'll do a bucket list race. Obviously, I got the pipe dream of the CCC and the UTMB Chamonix events. I got my points. I got my sponsor to get me there. So I just got to get there, and hopefully COVID's safe by then. But I'll trade it for anything. And then a lot of races got canceled on me, which were kind of a bummer. June 4th, I want to go out to Idaho. Still waiting to hear about that. But otherwise, I kind of want to keep it local and stay as close to Vermont, New York, Quebec region as possible. You wanted 3 to 5 minutes, I gave you 4. That's what I told her. Just kidding. One trick pony. I only do one video, Ian, so this is what you get. Unless you want me to do it again. Thank you. It's awesome. I love running. I like to run.
All right. Manchester to Monadnock Ultramarathon in Manchester, New Hampshire, a 55-miler. In the 6th running of the event, the 55-mile event, Cole Crosby and Roy Van Cleef took the overall win of 37 finishers in a tied time of 8:46. I haven't seen the clip yet, so I'm not sure whether Cole is on top based on a actual win, which came from a lean at the line, or from an alphabetical advantage. In which case, damn it, Roy's no doubt been getting the short end of that stick for 41 years now, with a last name of Van Cleef. Sorry about that, Roy. For the women, Eleni Peterson in 10:31.
Hello, Trails Collective. Cole Crosby here. Going to give you a little bit of a recap of how my weekend went at the Manchester to Monadnock Ultramarathon race. So it was my first race coming back since February of 2020. So it was really exciting just to get out there into the line with a bunch of other runners. And you know, my training's been going pretty well after running across New Jersey. And in lead up to the Cut 112 coming here in about a couple weeks, I wanted to get an effort in to kind of get some good training and some hill climbing in before I take on that endeavor. So anyway, the Manchester Monadnock race is a mix of roads, trails, dirt roads, lots of hills, ups and downs. It's about 7,000 feet of climbing and then about 6,000 feet of descending. The race starts at 4 a.m. And you start on kind of like a bike path. Then you kind of run out in through a couple towns. It kind of has a European feel because you run up these hills kind of like up by beautiful lakes and stuff up in New Hampshire. And then major checkpoints, usually like 10 or so miles down the way, are usually in different towns. So, you know, I got to share miles with Brandon Newbold. To start, we had a great time chatting. We were going at a really good clip, really good pace. You know, in typical Cole Crosby fashion, there's really two mountain ascents. One of them is called North Ucanic, and that happens around like 10 miles or so. And it's a rocky, slow ascent. We got up to the top, and then I wanted to ease off on the downhill. Brandon went off, and I ended up getting the blinders on and missed a turn. And I ended up going an extra roughly 2 miles or so. I stopped and looked at my phone and did some GPS work with it just to see that I was way off. So I turned around, ran about halfway back up the mountain, and then proceeded to figure out where I made the mistake, got back on course. And I will tell you that definitely drained me a lot. You know, this race, I didn't really feel fully like myself. Part of it was I was running like 640s, 630s, all, you know, really hard after that climb and stuff to try and catch back up. By the time I made it to that next aid station, Brandon had dropped out. He had some ankle issues, which I've been dealing with my fair share. So I that's why I've been taking it easy. I've been running with an ankle brace and that kind of stuff to make sure that I don't do any more serious damage. And in terms of the rest of the race, it was a beautiful day. And I just kind of like went out and felt like if I could just kind of grind through things, that'd be okay. You know, I took in a lot of really good nutrition, and it definitely helped. But what I definitely underestimated with this course was just how consistent the hills ended up actually being. So like, for example, even like around mile 20 to 29, it was like a lot of long, slow, gradual hills. And so I'm looking at my watch and I'm thinking, you know, I'm comparing this to the Tussey Mountain Back, and I was thinking, how am I going at a hard clip, but I'm only averaging 730 miles, where at Tussey I could do it in around, you know, 7 minutes. So what is affecting this, right? And I think it was just a little bit of being a little bit off, my electrolytes a little bit off balance, and I just didn't have that extra gear. Maybe it was with my ankle to allow me to really push hard and you know, make up the time that I was hoping to. You know, I was hoping to run 50 miles of this course around 6 hours and like 20 minutes or so. I kind of came through more like 6:40 or so, 6:30, 6:40. And by the time that I made it up the mountain, because you finish the race, it's crazy. You finish the race going up a 3,000 foot mountain on the Pumpelly Trail, Mount Monadnock, which was kind of has some reminiscent moments of Manitou's Revenge. You pretty much have like a half mile where it's a nice easy trail, and then you are pretty much scrambling up big huge granite rocks for another 7 miles. And you know, I took the long way around. You can see on my GPS that I ended up trying to skirt around the outsides and had some difficulty there. But you know, overall, I knew I was giving up time on the course record, but I just wanted to get through and hung tough. And even though I felt like I wasn't running that fast or climbing that fast, I just had to keep going, right? So by the time I made it to the summit, there was a guy, his name's Roy, who actually ended up coming up, and we were kind of at that point kind of tied in the race. You know, he was having some cramping issues, and we just kind of like worked together down the hill. He waited up for me a little bit, and then ultimately it was pretty cool. We just ended up finishing together. We instead of having to have a sprint finish or anything like that, I mean, we had shared the last, you know, 5 miles together side by side. So I felt, and he agreed with me, that it was more fitting just to finish out on a high note together. And that was the adventure of Manchester Monadnock. Incredible race, more challenging than I expected, but a great event, great tune-up to kind of start off getting back to racing. And yeah, definitely check it out. It's a cool event, very fat-ass grassroots kind of event, and it's a very diverse course, very beautiful course. So go out, check it out.
Hi guys, my name is Eleni. I'm just going to tell you a little bit about the Manchester to Monadnock race that I did over the weekend on Saturday. So just as you might expect, the race starts in Manchester, New Hampshire, on a nice flat rail trail. So those are some gorgeous, you know, morning miles to get you going. From there, the race sends you up North Untitled Mountain, which for me, it was timed perfectly with the sunrise. So I got to see that over my shoulder as I was climbing up there, which was such a treat. I enjoyed that. From there, the race sends you over some, you know, rolling hills of New Hampshire, so to speak, for the next 30 miles or so. Through, you know, New Boston for a while. You know, I forgot a lot of the towns, Peterborough eventually, and then Dublin, to the base of the Pumpelly trailhead of Monadnock Mountain. Along the way, you have, you know, ample aid, and after you pass an aid station, they were packing up and sort of following you, like rolling aid stations, asking if you need anything along the way, which was wonderful because it was really hot on Saturday. So you get to the Pumpelly trailhead at the base of Monadnock around mile 45 or 46. From there, you hike up or run up if you can, the Pumpelly trail, which is about 4 miles. And then the race sends you down the front of the mountain, down White Arrow, and then, which is one of the sketchier ways down, I would say. It's got a lot of large boulders and things to navigate, which on tired legs is kind of a challenge for sure. Once you get to the bottom of that, you run over the Parker Trail, which is about 1.5 miles, 1.75 miles of nice, easy trail to the finish line. The whole race in general was awesome. I'm definitely going to go back and do it again one of these days. I had initially signed up because it was sort of to warm me up for the Vermont 100, which was going to be my first 100 this year. It, of course, got postponed again till 2022. So, you know, when I got that news, I was kind of bummed and not really super excited to do the Manchester to Monadnock, but I'm certainly glad I did. It was an awesome race. The volunteers are on point, and the race director is super passionate about the race, and that's so obvious and throughout the whole event. So for me, for the rest of the year, I don't have anything going on. Maybe we'll end up signing up for something on a whim. Maybe we'll just chase some crowns on Strava. Other than that, if you're thinking about the Manchester to Monadnock, you should do it. It's awesome. Otherwise, thanks for listening.
Soapstone Mountain Trail Races in Stafford Springs, Connecticut, 6K, 24K, an event put on by the crew at the Schnipps Striders, a wicked active and fun club out of Connecticut. For the 15th, I think, running of the beautiful Soapstone Mountain Trail Races, there were 132 finishers in the 24K, with Benjamin Herron taking the overall win in 2:04, with Caitlin Roston on top for the women in 2:35. And for the Jerry Stage 6K, of 62 finishers, Eric I'm not going to pronounce that right. Sioka? Chaka? Don't know. Took the overall win in 29-25 with Kate Berry for the women in 36-55. I did reach out in advance to a couple people who ran. We have a clip here from Brett Stoeffler, who I had reached out to because he's got a number of finishes under his belt for Soapstone and figured he could cue us into the event.
Hi, trail runners. Brett Stoeffler out of Tolland, Connecticut. I'll talk a little bit about the Soapstone Mountain 24K trail race, which I ran yesterday. It's about, shakes out to about 15.5 miles by my GPS, 22,000 feet of elevation. It gets tweaked a bit year to year, and I think it's getting longer every year, and I think everyone who runs it will tell you it gets longer. It's not super technical, but at the same time, you can't take your eyes off the trail. There's a lot of rocks, a lot of roots. I've been running this race every year since 2002, which was a bit of a surprise when I checked. This year, with the exception of last year, of course they didn't have it. This year, sort of back to normal. They ran a little bit of a staggered start, just to space people out. I really look forward to this race every year. It's like my home course. I'm a short drive away, so I run it quite a bit. Run a lot of the trails out there. There's a really good vibe. The Schnipset Striders do a great job for organizing it, putting this on. They have a shorter race. Typically there's a kids race. Didn't have that this year, but they really cater to everyone, get everyone involved. So yesterday, how things shook out, like I said, the rolling start, everyone kind of just finds their way for the first couple of miles. With the exception of me, I took a little bit of a wrong turn while I was talking to a fellow runner about footwear choices for the race, which kind of upset me, but I got back on track. There's a short, steep hill in the beginning, so you're kind of, after that, things kind of sort themselves out. So say from mile 4 to 10, that's when you're just kind of finding your way. You don't see too many people other than the volunteers at the aid stations. It was the same yesterday. At about mile 10, I saw a few people, a few runners, wondering about where the finish line was. And luckily, since I've run this enough, I kind of know how far, what's left anyway. So like I said, I passed a few people at about 10 miles. So about from 10 to 15, I'm thinking there's a few more guys out there just because I saw the starting list. And I knew there was some, faster guys that were running. So I, did my best, kept the pace up, felt decent, and like I said, kept the pace up. Turns out I didn't see anyone. They were pretty far ahead of me, as it turns out. But you never know in a trail race, so you just try whatever you can. So at the end of the day, I was pretty happy with this race, and it was a good day in the woods. So up next for me, next weekend I'll be running a local 5K on the roads, which is quite a bit different from this race. It'll be a good change. This summer I'm looking to get into maybe a few local track meets, see what I can do there. And I'm sure I'll find, a few other trail races in the area. Seems to be a few more popping up now. And that's all I have. That's all I have for now. And we'll see what happens. And thank you.
And then one from Ashley Blain. I will plug it right here.
So it's 8:35. Getting ready for the Soapstone 24K. Videoing because some random guy asked me, of all people, to do a race review. Very odd. Not sure, but just gonna go with it. And we'll update you shortly. It's mile 3.5-ish. Starting the Killer Hill ascent. Video does it no justice. I'm questioning life choices. So if I make it, I'll be back around the 7-mile mark. So mile 6. Been drafting my dad here for about a mile and a half. Calling this the early bird special pace. Claiming it as my signature pace. And looking forward to the halfway point. Deep in the jungle. Might die. Bye. Mile 10. My dad, who was in front of me, dusted me. He's probably done. Hit a little bit of a hole. Had my Nutella and peanut butter jelly sandwich. And I'm gonna put my big girl pants on and just finish out. So I'll touch base at the end. So 14.5. We are at the 24K, but you'll notice no finish line at all. My friend Brittany is with us, my partner in pain. So we are chasing a thunderstorm right now for these bonus miles to get to the finish line. So this was the faux ending, and I will update you on the real ending.
Hi, hi, hi.
Hi, hi, hi.
Hi, hi, hi.
Here's the best group of people to run with. Okay, so we're done. That race had everything. It had baby geese, cats on leashes, impending doom, Killer Hill, deceit. I did 15.68 miles in about 4:26 moving time, so I'm pretty proud of that. So this is the Unicorn Turtle, aka Ashley, and I'm out. Hope you enjoyed my review. Bye, guys.
And the Parker Dam Trail Run at Penfield, PA, 15K, 25K. In an inaugural event of the 55-25K finishers, Ethan Swope took the inaugural overall win in 1:53, with Krista Harper being top female in 2:13. Of 86 15K finishers, Rob Hampton took the overall in 1 hour and 9 seconds, with Laura Brenner for the women in 1:13. And I was able to catch up with Laura Brenner on this one. And Laura, take us through the inaugural Parker Dam Trail Run. And as I mentioned in the message, also props to that sweet-looking van in the background, as well as the PA Run shirt. All right, take it, Laura.
Yeah, so Parker Dam Trail Race was this past weekend. First time, this company has put on this race. It's the second race I've done with Ryan and Transylvania Productions. Didn't know what to expect, but I've never been to Moshanna State Forest before or Parker Dam State Park, and it was a good excuse to get up that way. So it was about a 3.5-hour drive from where I live in Lancaster to get up there. So Mom and I went up for the race, camped out overnight at the state forest outside of the state park, and then drove in for the race that morning. Even being in the forest the night before, we had good weather. It was beautiful. I was really looking forward to the race. And then when we got to the park that day, the weather, the temperature was just perfect. So we got started on a nice wide grassy section for about 300 meters, to get us all started. And then it dropped us into single track. And I did get a little bottlenecked behind some folks there. There was a brave guy that shot around to the right behind me and passed everyone, and I followed his lead, thankfully. And that took us into the first climb. And there are probably, 3 notable climbs, which suits my skills. I'm a climber. The last one was probably my favorite, even though it was a wide gravel road, not technical trail at all. It was a long, slow climb right at the end, about 1.5 miles from the finish, which was perfect, well placed, I thought. And that was probably the only big gravel road on the course. There was some double track, some wider dirt trails, some single track, a lot of single track. I think they used some mountain bike trails because there was a lot of twists and turns. Some good up and down rollers through that section. And then, a couple of pieces of technical trail with a lot of rocks and roots, especially down by a creek, probably 3/4 of the way through the race. The rocks were wet. It was mucky. There were a lot of roots to trip on. Luckily, I didn't fall, but I had good shoes that day. I thought the mix of trails was perfect for me, especially in an early season race. I felt more nimble than I thought I would. You know, like I said, we had great weather, so it was a good event. You know, it worked out well for me that day. I didn't realize, you know, that was going to happen. I didn't come in with that kind of expectation. Again, still early season, not feeling as fit as I could be, but certainly motivated to keep up what I've been doing and put a big race on the calendar at the end of the year. I don't have anything on there yet, but you know, we'll see what strikes my fancy in the next few months. A couple of local races that I'll do this summer, but nothing big on the calendar yet.
And then the last one reporting in for this week, 6 Hours of the Reservoir, a Jimmy McCaffrey production, run in Ansonia, Connecticut. 40 finishers with Justin Kowski taking the overall win with 44 miles. And the fastest women on the day going to Brenda Fortin with 32 miles covered. Elizabeth Allen also came up with 32. So nice work to both of you, and both establishing new event course records. So you're able to check in with Brenda, and here is her clip to cue us into 6 Hours at the Reservoir.
Hi, I'm Brenda Fortin from Williamsburg, Massachusetts. And this past weekend, I ran 6 Hours at the Reservoir in Ansonia, Connecticut, where I finished 5th overall and set the female record of 8 loops and 32 miles, just missing 9 loops by 4 minutes. This is my first ultra of the year. And actually up until a year ago, my longest run was only 15 miles. So I really didn't know what to expect, especially since I prefer unmarked adventures as opposed to short loops. But I found the course to actually be pretty technical enough to keep it interesting while still being pretty runnable. And I actually got into a really nice rhythm after the first loop. I really want to send a huge shout out and thank you to the race director, Jim McCaffrey, and all the volunteers. They were very encouraging and helpful, going as far even to help me take my vest off before I attempted that final last loop. So thank you so much. The whole event, just in general, was a really amazing experience, and it really reminded me of why I love trail running just so much, especially after spending basically the entire winter on the roads trying to qualify for the Boston Marathon, which I did. Yay! So hopefully I'll be running that in April. Yeah, but wintertime is pretty horrible for a lot of people, but especially for me. I battle with seasonal depression. It's a real thing. It sucks, but enough of that. Mental health has always kind of been a critical part of why I run. And it really helps me stay centered. So being in the woods is really where I'm happiest. So finding ultra marathon running has opened up this whole world of new possibilities to me. And by possibilities, I mean FKTs. Speaking of FKTs, I actually got a few solo routes targeted near me for the summertime, like the Robert Frost Trail and the Tully Loop in Orange, Mass. But I also have some bigger challenging trails, like the Pemmy Loop in the White Mountains of New Hampshire, where the female record might just be a little bit outside my range, but I'm really going to try to go for it, either as a solo female, or I'm going to go with my running partner to attempt the mixed gender record. So wish me luck. I've actually been trying to plan out some other summer plans and fall racing schedule, and have set up a few target races and routes for the upcoming season. So up next, I actually have the Catamount 50K in Vermont, where I really hope to get my mountain running legs back under me. I've also been really looking forward to trying out the Twisted Branch 100K in August as a progression run for me in distance mostly, before I take on my first 100-mile race, the Mid-State Massive in October. Did I mention that my longest run up until April of last year was only 15 miles?
And actually one that did run, there was one more. I didn't get clips from it, and the results weren't yet available, so I couldn't, I don't know how that all went down, other than I think, and then, no, I don't know how it went down. Coventry Woods 5K and 10K Trail Challenge in Pottstown, PA also ran May 16th. All right, weeks ahead, May events. May 20th, this coming weekend, as I mentioned a little bit ago, Infinitus in Brandon, Vermont, 8-mile, 26.2 mile, and I think a popular 88K up there. May 22nd, Fountainhead Half Marathon and 10K Trail Run at Fairfax Station. Segahunda Trail Marathon in Vale of Three Falls. This is one where I think they're just running the 2020 rollover entrance. And then for next weekend, the end of May, we've got a slew of events from Cayuga Trails 50s, one of mine, and Lucifers Crossing, one of mine. Capital Backyard Ultra, Cowbone Trail Run, Frosttown Trail Festival, Charlie Horse Half Marathon, and the Run Ragged in Berlin, Connecticut. It's going to be a busy weekend. So, thanks for tuning in this week. Thanks to all who are supporting us through liking the channels, through sharing on your own media feeds. I really appreciate anything you do. I don't know, pick it up, share the link to East Coast Trail or Trail and Ultra or just your own feeds. I really appreciate you trying to help share the word. And any of us or any of you out there who feel strongly enough to help me try to keep this thing going and come on as a Patreon supporter, that is awesome as well. So thanks so much to all of you. Hopefully you have a great rest of your week and weekend ahead, and I will check you next week. All right, see ya!
So it's just exciting to pin a number on anywhere. I'll pin it anywhere. Wherever I can pin a number, I'll pin a number. Come get some. Come on up. Come on, let's test it out. Let's test it out. Lock me in a room with anybody. I love it.